After weeks of delays, diplomatic roadblocks and political tensions, an aid convoy traveling from the United Kingdom to Gaza has finally arrived in the Gaza Strip. It was a moment rich in symbolism as over 100 trucks rolled over the border in spite of Israel's two-year blockade. But the celebrations when the convoy arrived were marred by violence earlier in the day. Hamas loyalists and Egyptian troops clashed, leaving one Egyptian soldier dead and several Palestinians injured. Hundreds of Palestinians also threw stones at Egyptian guards across the border, injuring 9 of them. The violence highlights growing tensions along the Egypt-Gaza border. Al Jazeera's Ayman Mohideen has the latest from there.
Well, the Viva Palestina convoy has entered the Gaza Strip to a much anticipated warm welcome from people here. The British MP George Galloway was showered with flowers as he and dozens of other officials and organizers of the convoy made their way across the Egyptian side into Rafah here in the Palestinian border crossing. At the same time, dozens of vehicles made their way in carrying much needed supplies and aid, and all of this will be very much welcomed by the Palestinian people who are still suffering 2.5 years of an Israeli-imposed siege. This particular convoy carries with it a great deal of symbolism because of the journey it took. It's been more than a month since they departed the United Kingdom, crisscrossing their way across Europe and the Middle East before being set back in the Jordanian port city of Aqaba, only to once again clash with Egyptian officials in the port city of El Arish. But despite those setbacks, the organizers were adamant to make their way here, and in fact, that is what happened here this evening. Over the course of the next 48 hours, that is the time that they will be allowed to spend here. Over the course of the next 48 hours, they will be distributing that aid as well as meeting with organizers from the government side of the committee to break the siege, as well as Hamas officials and as well as ordinary Palestinians. And in that course of the 48 hours, they will be delivering a message of solidarity and support from the international community, the countries that they represent, more than 40 of them participating in this convoy, and they will be expressing their sympathy and solidarity with the Palestinian people. Now, all of this comes on a day that saw very intense clashes between Palestinians and Egyptian border guards, kind of highlighting the volatility of the recent tensions between the Egyptian government and Palestinian officials here in Gaza. Earlier in the day, Hamas organized what was supposed to be a peaceful protest in solidarity with the Viva Palestina convoy that had been delayed, but that turned deadly as Palestinians began to hurl rocks at Egyptian border guards, who in turn opened fire on the crowd trying to disperse them. The situation was brought under control when the Palestinian Ministry of Interior deployed more forces to the border, pushing back the crowd of Palestinians. In recent weeks, tensions have been mounting between Hamas officials, the deposed government here, and the Egyptian government. They have been accusing the Egyptian government of escalating the pressure on the Palestinians who are living under the Israeli-imposed siege by both constructing an iron or steel barrier underground, which would effectively cut off the tunnels that bring in so much of the supplies to the people here, and at the same time with the public delay that the Viva Palestina convoy encountered. Those two examples have really been highlighted here by Hamas officials as examples of why and how Egypt is becoming more complicit in this Israeli siege under American and Western European pressures. Ayman Mohideen, Al Jazeera, on the Palestinian side of the Rafah, Egypt border.